and welcome to Gravitas WINS Conversations. I'm your host, Joseph Jude. Personal branding is not a new idea. In 1997, Tom Peters wrote an essay called The Brand Called You. In that, he asked, what do you do that adds remarkable, measurable, distinguished, distinctive value? Joining me today to unpack the personal branding is Sejal Sud. She is known for her work in personal branding, entrepreneurship, and social media growth. She has hosted interviews with industry leaders like the founder of ThyroCare, closed high-impact brand deals, and runs Twitter spaces focused on financial literacy, personal growth, and book reviews. I joined some of these Twitter spaces, and as a techie, I should tell you, she stress-tested Twitter infrastructure with hundreds of people joining each session. I like to talk to people who walk the talk and talk the walk. Sejal is definitely one of them. Sejal, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Joseph, and thank you for being such a kind host and for such a kind introduction. Thank you.
Welcome. Sejal, let's start with this. What is personal branding for you, and how did you get started in this particular journey? This is probably a contrarian path that you have chosen. So why did you choose it? Is it accidental, intentional? Can you walk me through that?
So, see, firstly, I'll break down the question into two halves. What is personal brand and how did I get started? So, starting with personal brand. I believe anything that has to be said in the universe has already been said, right? Like, like there were people greater than you, me, and everyone and all great things have already been said. The only thing that a personal brand brings in is a take on those great things and great opinions that have been said. A personal brand is like more of a personal take than an individual might have, and it's more of a nuanced take, right? Like for example, if tomorrow you talk to me about the barbell strategy, it's already been said, someone's spoken about it, blogs have been written about it, thousands of blogs have been written about it. But when Joseph Jude speaks about the barbell strategy, he adds his own life examples. He gives me different examples from the society, what he's seen, and that nuanced take that is specific to Joseph and to his perception, understanding, and processing of that information is something that helps me recognize Joseph and his opinions for what he stands for. So that is how I view a personal brand. Now, how I got started with social media was that I was in school. I was very fond of education, but not studying particularly. And that take was already made aware to my parents when I was in eighth grade that, see, I will educate myself, but I might not be interested to study in a more formal sense. I obviously will complete my education, but you shall not expect marks more than 85% from me. I will pass all my exams. I will not trouble you beyond a certain point. I will earn my own money eventually and will only rely on you for my necessities. And I told that to my parents that I cannot give these entrance exams and I am built a certain way, right? So my parents, luckily, after a year or two, understood that, we have a child who's slightly different. That doesn't mean a child is wrong. It's just that they prefer their life a certain way. And as long as, they're not being troublesome and they're doing something good, we wouldn't really want to interrupt them. So luckily, my parents, I wanted to, we had these extra subjects that we would take. So I had an option between Hindi and French. I wanted to take Hindi, but my parents insisted for French because they knew that, I like French. And as I said, that I had told them that I don't really want to be very academically focused. So they said, enjoy French and Hindi is more scoring. So let it be. Even for my extra subject, there was computers that I wanted to take just because it made me sound smarter. But then that PE suits me more. And as much as I wanted to take computers out of ego. My parents were like, "See, we understand you. We know what you like. So might as well do what you might as well do what you're good at." So talking was one thing that I was really really good at, and ever since I was 3-4 years old, I would love to converse with people. It would be house helps. It would be neighbors, people on the streets, people in trains, airports. I would just start talking. I was a very talkative child. Like in nursery, my name was Chatterbox. So they knew that I have a gift for talking. And my mother said that, beta, nowadays YouTube is very, very famous. And there is this is 2018, 2019. Why don't you start a YouTube channel? I could speak in front of a big audience on the stage, but for some reason, a camera was extremely intimidating to me, and took away a lot of my confidence from me. So I did try my hand at content in 2019 with a YouTube video, but for some reason, as I said, that I was very intimidated by cameras and how the whole thing works because I never had any formal education in it. That's when I shot my first podcast and stopped content altogether. Right. After that, a few years later, I met you and you said that, you should start publishing your work as a part of Gravitas WINS. That is when I started, posting every day on LinkedIn. Now imagine a 18-year-old posting every day on LinkedIn. But I had, because of the exposure that I had gotten due to certain privileges I had in my upbringing and, the groups I was introduced to, the founders I was introduced to at a very, very young age, it gave me certain opinions about life that would not normally be there or not normally be expressed by a 18-year-old. For example, I have a very firm view that, like I feel that a lot of people lack courage and we all know that. But, why would anyone trust a 18-year-old to say that, most people lack courage and school actually scares us from failure? But that was something I still firmly believe in, firmly believe in, right? That's a very firm view I have that, like our environment tells us to succeed, but how can you succeed without failing? So I had certain takes and I had learned certain things that I firmly believed in because of my surroundings, what I was exposed to, and views had started forming. So I remember you talking that only post twice a week on LinkedIn. I was like, see, it's COVID and I have a drop here. I'm going to post every day on LinkedIn. I don't know what is going to happen, but I'm doing something good, right? I am not like I'm posting on social media and there's going to be an opportunity somewhere for me. Something good is going to happen. That was all I believed in. So kept on posting on LinkedIn for 6 months. From LinkedIn, it just felt like a slight echo chamber to me personally because
Yeah.
everything was too positive. Shifted to Instagram. At the point of time, I was very shy of showing my face on social media, and at the same time, making those carousels on Instagram took too much time. I'm being very honest, and no chat GPT was there, right? So you would sit, you would type, you would research, right? And you would type whatever, and it would take a lot of time. Hence, there was a friend of mine. He said, you should try out Twitter. And I'm like, Twitter is a very political platform. What do you mean? Like, everyone's fighting over there and it's too political. He said that, the people have a very nuanced take over there. A lot of entrepreneurs reply to you. Blue tick accounts used to be considered very premium at that point of time. And, these celebrities are replying to you. And he's like, you just try it out, right? And that boy was insistent that I must try Twitter. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of things in my life have been God's intervention. When I say God's
Yeah.
intervention, right? There is no need for me to post on Twitter, but this guy has been insisting. He has nothing to take from me. Right? He's not profiting from me. I'm not paying him. There is nothing going on between us that he profits from my success. Nothing. He's like, Sejal, you must try Twitter. And after 6 months, I make an account on Twitter. I still don't use it, and my account gets disabled, right? For not using it because they consider it a spam account. Now I'm very stubborn that I want a certain username for my account. And again, that boy's like, you haven't made your account on Twitter. I'm like, okay, I'll make an account on Twitter. Like, get done with it. And in March, I wrote an email to Twitter. February is when I wrote an email to Twitter. And then by February, mid March, I got my account. Started posting on Twitter on 6th March, 5th or 6th March 2021. Started writing about, day to day. Like, I was journaling, like a daily diary. But I was like, something good will happen. That was the whole process that, I'm posting on social media. I am learning new skills, like, learning about social media marketing, learning about graphic designing, learning about negotiation, whatever I could learn, whatever soft skills and hard skills I could learn and get my hands on, I did. And I started posting about it. At the same time, I remember you saying that, never do work for free. Charge 10 rupees or $1 or whatever, but never work for free. And that was something that I had fed in my head as well because I started interning for free when I was, 16, 17. Right. So I was working, interning for free, also working in my parents' office since a very young age, right? So I would do printouts for them. I would see how they negotiate their deals. So I had basic understanding of how a business works. Not to a nuanced take, because obviously these were, individual led businesses, but I had an idea. By that time, people started reaching out to me for, social media consults. Then brands started reaching out to me. Luckily, because of Twitter, I had a network that directly connected to me to CEOs and founders. So what
Yeah.
started happening was that I had a sense of acquaintanceship with these people, and which led to them realizing that, I have a, how do I say, I have a gift for social media, if I may use that word, and I could understand algorithms. And they started looking at my age, they were like, oh, we must support a young person. And people on the internet were quite helpful. They started offering me work, right? And luckily, because of my followership and what I had seen at my parents' businesses as well, I was very particular about payment terms. I also knew how to talk in a professional tone. I hired my own friends to work for me, right? That reduced my overall costs, and there were no fixed costs for me, only variable costs, and I could operate on a very lean model, right? So all things came together, and I remember you teaching us about. And the reason I'm referring to you again and again is because as I said, that maybe you're also one of the mentors sent by God to me. So there was something called the flywheel that you had mentioned, right? So all of the things came together, and there's a theory in atomic habits, or there's also an economic theory that says aggregation of marginal gains, right? So when you do multiple things continuously on a regular basis, something right happens. So something right did happen for me on social media, and that is how my journey started.
Thanks, Sajal. There's quite a lot of threads that I can take, especially about parenting. I think it all started with your parents supporting whatever that you wanted to pursue. I think that's where it all started. And probably I should interview your mom for that particular thing. We will keep this on personal branding here. Uh, so this particular one, personal branding. Now you have been in this for quite a long time.
Right.
Is this only for young people showing off, or is it to make business, or is it also for professionals? What is your take on that?
See, Joseph, we need to understand two things. There is a brand that precedes you, right? There's a reputation that precedes you online and offline. And you might as well set the narrative right. And when you set the narrative right
Mm.
and you're more intentional about it, it becomes a personal brand, right? So earlier times, people used to try accumulating physical real estate, right? Land. Now, most individuals, now the table has become more equitable as well. People are acquiring digital real estate. That
Mm.
followership, that is digital authenticity, that is, people knowing your name, people knowing that, okay, who is Joseph Jude? CTU, okay, podcaster, okay, coach, right? These are adjectives or roles that precede your name, your reputation online. So as I said, that everyone has a reputation, you might as well take charge of it and set the narrative right, and that's a personal brand. So I believe it's for everyone. It creates a equitable, playing field for people. People can I've There are cases where people have raised money overnight just by posting on social media and talking about their
Mm.
ideas. Right? One company was Cluely, that is very, very popular on Twitter, where I think a guy made a cheating tool to cheat on interviews or something, and he got suspended from an Ivy League college. To the best of my knowledge, it was Stanford, but yeah, he got suspended from an Ivy League college. And then apparently a bunch of VCs backed his idea. Think about it. And they raised around like they raised a huge amount of money. What I'm trying to say is that, like, if there was no internet, would this be possible? Perhaps, if you
Yeah.
had the connections and deep pockets, but that would not be possible for a normal person to do. Even having access to mentorship from different people who are CXOs, can a normal 20-year-old get access to it? Now, yes, you can reach out to people, you can cold email them, you can watch podcasts. Earlier, no, there would be a ladder that you'd have to climb, and a lot of times, there'd be barriers by assistants, emails, people just ignoring your letters. Some people would not also entertain unless you have a personal connect or you're connected to someone who's important to them. So social media builds a very equitable area for everyone, and it ensures that everyone has a fair share, or fair access to opportunities.
Yeah. So I think you repeatedly mentioned this.
Yeah.
It's an equitable table.
Yeah.
I think that's the word that I want to catch up on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the upside of such a personal branding. What kind of opportunities the personal branding has opened up for you, and what it can open up for others as well? But let's talk about what has opened up for you.
Right. So, maybe like last year, I attended a friend's company's IPO. I wouldn't have made a friend whose company went for an IPO without social media. The gentleman used to attend my Twitter spaces, and that's where he made acquaintances, right? So, invite to exclusive events such as an IPO. One.
Mhm.
In is meeting CEOs and getting mentorship from them. A lot of times we reach out to CEOs for business, but at the same time, you obviously get paid in, like, whatever paycheck you get, but at the same time there is an acquaintanceship that an opportunity to get build an acquaintanceship with a certain senior CXO or leader of a company that you might not regularly get access to.
True.
Third could be just working with a brand for their social media or consulting them, right? Or getting referrals from the client that you've worked with. Fourth would be getting a brand deal. It's a lot of things that can be done. I'm a non-tech person, but for a technical person, you can apply for technical roles. Also, a lot of times, companies, just like let's say you're a certain individual who keeps on posting every day on social media. You're a person who talks about different things you're coding. So I had a friend who used to make these videos on YouTube where he would talk about coding, and an edtech brand actually reached out to him for a brand deal for the same thing, right?
Mm.
That guy did not, he did not have those fancy equipments or anything, but just because of posting his content online, became a tutor with the edtech brand while he was in college. So it obviously gives you access to like, how do I say? It gives you access to making asymmetric bets and also
Mm.
opportunities that might not be available to other people your age. But it not because that they're not capable enough, because you were fast enough to take action and you were visible.
Sajal, you talked about some of the mental models here, flywheel, aggregation of marginal gains, and equitable tables, and so on and so forth. I want to double down on that flywheel that you talked about. How have you built a flywheel for this particular personal branding, or is this personal branding helped you to build a flywheel of other income streams? Can you talk to me a little more on that?
So basically, I think a lot of our audience also might not know what a flying wheel is. It basically means one thing leads to another, right?
Mhm.
So let's just say that let me give an example as well. For example, there is a 15-year-old athlete from India living in a village who wants to, run in the Olympics. Simple, right? Now, how do we build a flying wheel for this particular individual? Okay, there is a 15-year-old who is into sports and has been running. So one of the most easy way to actually attract sponsorship for this person is to document their journey, right? And
Mm.
people actually start realizing this person is an authentic athlete. Now you get two kind of support. One is public support that is very, very important, which actually tells brands that if they have a logo on this person's jersey, that brings them eyeballs. Number one. Number two, while you're also talking about that, corporates also want to see that the money is being used in the right way.
Mm.
Right. So an athlete, so this person, right, wakes up at 5 in the morning, has been doing the 75 hard challenge, has been daily posting that, okay, today I did not have protein on me, so I couldn't work out. Or my shoes have, I run every day, but my shoes are worn away. Now, this person can simply, though crowdfunding isn't exactly legal in India, right? But in a way, donations are. This person can just, put their
Mm.
name online. And whoever's there, even if you donate 10 rupees, right? And India has such
Mm.
a big population, 1,000 people see it, automatically 10,000 rupees, right? So what I'm trying to say is that now there was a 15-year-old living in a village, wanted to build a flying wheel, started documenting journey, gained followership. All of a sudden, some, like JSW sponsored him. With that, a sports brand sponsored him for the shoes. With that, he got public support that actually made government, a lot of times our athletes, one of the biggest issues they face is that government officials have blocked money. Now they realize that, okay, this person has a followership, and if the person speaks about it, there might be, this person can act as a whistleblower. Though obviously it
Mm.
doesn't happen, it's not that easy, but at the same time, the person actually, the play field, sorry, is level now, right? The person actually has a voice and they can actually say that, hey, you're not doing your duty properly. Where are my funds?
Mm.
My mats? Where,
Yeah.
where do I work out? Where do I exercise? Where's my physiotherapist? Right? So small things start building. Now the person has also realized that, okay, I need a source of income. They start endorsing a protein brand. Right? The protein brand is, because people have started looking up to this athlete, 15-year-old working out every day, has built muscle. Okay, target customer, people who want to build muscle, let's sell protein via him. So brands
Mm.
will start coming, right? So this is an example of flying wheel where a lot of opportunities can be built. The whole idea of using social media to build opportunities is that you're visible, right? And now because of your location isn't a issue. Like I think Naval Ravikant also said that the three things that define your life is where do you live, what do you do, and who do you marry. Obviously, 15 year
Mhm.
old won't get married right now, but where do you live? It doesn't matter anymore because now that guy
Yeah.
has access to opportunities at least across the country. People across the
Yes.
country can view him. And even, a lot of athletes have gotten global attention just because they're posting every day. I know it might be difficult for athletes to do that. And even professionals, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of remote jobs are being taken by people and, they're doing these roles where they have a decent amount of, updates on GitHub or whatever platform a developer is supposed to use. And you're posting about it, you're posting about your coding journey, and sometimes just posting that, I am facing issues or my laptop stopped working. Can someone please donate? A lot of times, the internet is a kind community where people come together. Even if somebody donates $1, imagine 100 people donating $1, $100. And someone would donate $10, $50, or whatever, and that just makes life easy for the person as well. So flying wheel basically means doing the right things right and letting people see your work, right? And at the same time, eventually having like doing whatever you're supposed to, having systems in place and hoping that, opportunities come along, and mostly they do come along. It's usually our fear of, s- feeling judged or what would others think about us or how will I manage. But there is somebody doing it on the internet, right? You might, if that other person can do it, so can you. So that is how I look at
Absolutely.
flying wheel.
I want to, you talked about fear now, and you talked about courage earlier.
Yeah.
And I think the pinned tweet on your Twitter feed is also about courage.
Yes.
I want to talk a little more on courage.
Right.
How does courage help you? And I know because of your upbringing itself,
Yeah.
you might be a lot more courageous than even somebody who is of my age. So, how do you get that particular courage? And what's your take on that particular courage? And how can somebody, a 15-year-old, 20-year-old, how can they build this particular courage?
15, 20, 30, 40, 80, 100-year old, right? Anyone. Like, I think a lot of us struggle with courage. Now, what does courage mean? It means the ability to stay authentic and hold your ground, right? A lot of times in business, you would face people like, let's just say I quote you a price for a service at 1 lakh rupees for a certain service. And you're like, but no, the other person at least does for 10,000 rupees. And unless I have faith in whatever work I do, and I'm sure that I can charge this much, I'll be like, Joseph is right. I should charge 10,000 rupees for this service. So what I'm trying to say is that courage is basically confidence with evidence, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, see, I'm from North India, and I'm not saying that all North Indians are loud and confident, but at least how everyone speaks at my house, and you're familiar with my mother, yeah, you've spoken to her. So we have a more assertive way of communicating, right? So we come off as confident, right? And we are confident, but at the same time, courage, when I specifically talk about courage, it is confidence with evidence. Because a lot of times, a lot of people have confidence that's built over nothing. And what happens is that eventually it leads to imposter syndrome, or you feeling that, okay, what if I'm not good enough? But when you have evidence for why you have a certain kind of confidence, it leads to courage. For example, it's a very small example, but a few days ago, I was talking to someone, and I said that, I feel that I'm not good enough in a certain field. She said, okay, let's agree you're not good enough. What is the proof for it, and what is the proof against it? Okay, let's just say you were really terribly bad at it, and let's agree to it. Now, how can we improve it? Right? The whole mindset needs to be problem solving instead of problem repeating. So
So,
courage is amalgamation of both, and I feel a lot of individuals overthink as well. So there was a book that is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I personally have no liking for the book, but one thing that stuck with me from the book was that, most people think that if I do this, what would others think about me? But firstly, they're not paying your bills. Secondly, nobody cares about you. Most people have a lot on their plate already. And thirdly, even if you mess up, what would happen at max? Joseph would laugh at me. That's fine. That's okay. Right. And like, I personally have a rule, as long as I'm not harming someone, right? And I am not purposefully, making you feel bad. See, you getting offended on small things, that's a you problem. But me, okay, Joseph, you are a techie, hence you are this. That is wrong. But if you're getting offended on small things, it's fine. That's a you problem. So as long as I'm not harming someone, I am not purposefully hurting someone, and whatever I'm doing at least has some kind of stand for me that, okay, I think whatever I'm doing is rightful. I will not stop. I have to do what I have to.
I like the phrase courageous confidence with evidence.
Yeah.
One of the person whom I look up to as a mentor, Dr. Alan Weiss, he says, if you can do it, it is not bragging.
Right.
So say for example, tomorrow, if somebody were to come to you and say, okay, can you conduct a Twitter space? You are going to be able to do it because
Right.
there is an evidence.
Right.
So it is not. So if you come in and say, I can pull in 800 people on a Twitter space, it is not bragging because you've done it and you can do it.
Or
So it is not bragging.
also, if I may add something, like, Joseph,
Yeah.
we spoke about courage, right? Courage is very, very important. It's confidence plus evidence. Great. But there's also a second aspect to courage, if I may say this. A lot of times, people hesitate in trying out things they're not used to trying, right? For example, I remember having this conversation with you where you said that you're a techie, and at a certain point of time, you were a bit hesitant to have these public conversations. But as a techie, you don't need to do anything, right? Like, you don't need to show face, you don't need to speak to people. You can just code all day long and get your check and be happy. But over here, unless you were courageous enough, because over here, yeah, you have no evidence to, having these but if, and let's just say that, not you, but anyone else, if they stammer and they're still having these conversations, what they're not realizing is when you sometimes get out of your comfort zone and you try out things beyond your comfort zone, even if you're getting mocked at, laughed at, and you're mindful that you're not harming someone, you should still go ahead with it. And like, obviously, you shouldn't, try out extremely specialized fields like surgery. Let's try it today. Let's do some surgery. No, that is supposed to be done by a doctor. But certain fields like coding, content, writing, or certain fields where you're not impacting someone's life or act, you know. So I think people should be courageous enough to try those as well. Over here, you won't have an evidence, but you would have grit to try it again and again. And
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. Uh, since you brought that out, absolutely. When I graduated out of college, I couldn't even speak one single sentence in English, and I struggled. And that's another reason why I never wanted to do all these kinds of stuff. But this has helped me a lot, even in my career. When I got on a sales call, or when I have to get on a conference, when I have to speak in public, it all helps me a lot, these kinds of small experiments. So, yeah, thank you. Sejal, let's talk about this. If somebody were to start today, okay, you have talked about all of these things, they are looking at you, they have looked at all of the things that you have done. If somebody were to start today,
right.
what would be your advice in terms of what are the tools, what are the platforms, what should be their schedule, what should they share? What are your advice on that?
See, I think there'll be a different advice for every profession and age group, but I'll give you slightly more generic advice here. I'll complete it. People follow you for three reasons. They like you, like they admire you. Oh, he's so pretty. Yeah, that's one. Second is they look up to. Maybe Joseph is a billionaire, like Indian Elon Musk or something, and you're like, Joseph, he's made it alive, right? That's the second category. And the third category is like, Joseph is a coach who talks about personal development. I can learn something from Joseph. So the individual needs to be clear in which category do they aspire to fit and where do they currently fit, right? That is one while starting a personal brand. The second thing is, what are certain goals do I have from this personal brand? If you're a 20-year-old, if you're an 18-year-old, you're very young. You might not have a goal with a personal brand. That doesn't mean you don't build one. You build one, but at the same time, slowly you also start discovering multiple interests, right? So that is another thing. And maybe let's just say you're an established professional. Now your ideal goal with social media would be two, three things. Maybe looking for a job change, right? Maybe you're having a personal brand and eventually you're done with your job and you're looking for a job change. Maybe you're looking to quit your job and just, attract some attention to your account so you can get access to co-founders or a group where they say that, okay, this guy is coding something interesting, let's fund him. And the third part as an individual would be maybe to attract clients, right? Lead generations. It's different for every part. The only thing is that I think, as I said, it's a social, it's a social business card these days, your social media. So it's very important. And every individual should craft their own narrative. A lot of times, younger people get discouraged for posting on social media. Like, obviously, like a 13-year-old talking about maybe interpersonal relationships. But, at the same, for example, giving marriage advice. That is a bit extreme. But at the same time, what I'm trying to say is that I think you can learn something from everyone. I have a younger sister who's 6 years younger to me. And a lot of times I learn so many skills just from her. So I don't think age should exactly be a barrier here. But for a younger person, maybe parental supervision. Like, let's just say someone's 13, parental supervision is extremely important while the child is posting. But a 18 to 25-year-old, they're young people who've just, started college over here. A lot of times, even when we're hiring interns or someone else is hiring interns, people lack certain skills. For example, how to email someone. People just say, hi, can you give internship? Hi, can you help me with this? Why will I help you? Well, I would love to help everyone, right? But I'm not Santa Claus that I'm going to help everyone. So how do you have that differentiating tactic? How do you interact with people? These skills can only be built when a certain individual has been exposed to conversations online, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people, so that's a certain age group, maybe a more senior professional looking for a job change, looking to find co-founders, starts posting, okay, day one of coding, day two of coding, day three of coding this, build in public. Excellent ways to actually raise money, find a co-founder, even hire. It gives you, how do I say, unfair access to talent as well, hiring talent. For example, if today I were to put up a post that I am hiring a content writer, editor, like any place, I would get at least 30 to 40 applications at minimum in a day. Now, what I'm trying to say is that
True.
when I get 30 to 40 applications at minimum, that also gives me purchasing power over here, right? The forces of supply and demand. There's a lot of supply. There's one person demanding, at least in my DMs. That also gives me power to negotiate or maybe power to strike a certain deal. Similarly, as an individual, so maybe if you're hiring for your startup, now, there was a post by Dipinder Goyal, right? Because I remember,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, where he was saying that he's hiring these people for founder's office and he won't pay you, but you need to pay him 20 lakh rupees. Now imagine how odd does it sound? You pay to learn, but it's Dipinder, his mentorship, the kind of reputation Zomato has, and Dipinder has consciously crafted this reputation for himself, right? And like I wrote to him an email that, hey, this is, and I was willing to pay 20 lakhs. But if Baiju Ravindran did this, would you be willing to pay him 20 lakhs?
Mm.
Would
True.
you pay him?
No.
But there's a narrative Dipinder has crafted, and we order from Zomato every day. There's a trust we have in the brand of Zomato and Dipinder. Whereas you wouldn't pay 20 lakh rupees to Baiju's. You would say if Baiju's paying you 20 lakh rupees, you would raise your hands and say, Vanakkam and leave.
I love it. You're right. One of the Indian founders that I follow who has really built this well is this Atomberg's founder, Arundam Paul. He posts about almost all of these things about business. And recently he introduced another product. And again, there's quite a lot of buzz and he's able to generate it. The other one is when Google posts something about the same AI and all of those kinds of stuff, the views are okay. But when Sundar Pichai posts the same thing, then it is skyrocketing, the views and the comments and all of those kinds of stuff, right? We want to hear from people, not from brands. So that makes quite a lot of difference.
I
Yeah.
think brand and the founder are two separate entities, but they are coexisting and codependent in a certain manner, like two circles which overlap. And sometimes founder-led brands do really, really well because of the founder and how the founder is perceived. But at the same time, if the founder does something funny online, it creates a havoc for the brand and the shareholders as well. So it's a double-edged sword, if I may use this word.
Absolutely. Since you mentioned this is a good segue into go into what can backfire in this personal branding. And then you already talked about this particular thing. It's a double-edged sword. So can you double down on that? What do you mean by that?
So, like, let's take an example of Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is like, no debate. He's a genius. But at the same time, he has certain, how do I say this? Certain opinions and certain, like tweets that, like, that can create a havoc for Tesla shareholders, firstly. That is one. Second is that, there was also news that a lot of Teslas have started getting vandalized in the US. But people are afraid to buy Tesla just because Elon has these certain opinions that might come off as, too red pilled or too extremist. Now, what happens is that because Elon is associated with Tesla as the direct face of Tesla,
Yeah.
whenever a person buys Tesla, that basically means any buyer of Tesla also subscribes to those views. That might be true, but at the same time, aren't Tesla supposed to be solar cars and good for the ecosystem? What if the person subscribes to those views? So I think that, founder-led brands also do really well, but they can be very dangerous. And like, do you remember there was a certain time when Ronaldo was in a press conference and there was a bottle of Coke or Pepsi that was kept?
Yes.
Ronaldo replaced it with water, and all of a sudden, the stocks of that company went down. That's the power of Ronaldo's personal brand because Ronaldo is a brand in himself, right? He
Yeah.
carries a reputation. And if Ronaldo is saying no to this drink, that basically means there's something seriously wrong with it. If I may give you another example, there's a lady by the name of Parul Gulati. She used to be she she is an actress, right? A TV actress, but at the same time, she also runs a brand by the name of Niche Hair, right?
Hmm.
Now, a lot of times, celebrity run brands don't do well, but Niche Hair has been doing really, really well. Because Parul is the face of the brand. She models for the brand and she also has a certain reputation online. She's extremely pretty. And besides being pretty, she has a businesswoman's acumen. So she knows how to sell the product as well, right? So because of Parul's reputation, the brand is doing really, really well. She has certain quirks to her personality. Like she would call herself in Punjab side or Haryana side, there is a term called Malkin. That means owner, right? Owner of a brand. So she says that she's Malkin of niche hair. And because of that, and also, a lot nowadays, a lot of people have been losing their hair. And it's a very significant problem for
Mm.
women, not for men, but even for women. That women start losing their hair at a very young age due to health issues or whatever. So niche hair over here, gets you these hair patches, these extensions that you can add just to your hair and have a quick fix. And who doesn't want a quick fix, right? We prefer having weight loss pills over going to the gym. But over here, for hair fall, you can't gym, right? So that offers you a quick fix. There's a celebrity-led brand, and it's been done in such a fabulous manner. Parul is like, how do I say? She's productizing her own self for the brand.
Mm. Mm.
She's doing it really, really well. But as a peril, that a big example can be, the peril of personal brand can be Elon Musk. Another one would be the gentleman from L&T who told his employee, "How long can you stare at your wife?" I get it. Like he maybe said it as uh, I don't know if this is the right thing to call it, but like a typical elderly man joke, like where you make these
Yeah.
wife jokes and ha ha ha, everyone starts laughing. But in an office scenario, when you're at a senior position, you're a representative of the brand. Even at a low position, if you say that tomorrow that, "Hello, I am Joseph Jude, I work at Google," right? You're a representative of Google. Just
Mm.
for the
Mm.
clarification, Joseph does not work at Google. But, right? And if you do something funny, they're like, "Joseph works at Google, did funny work." So Google hire
Mm.
employees who do funny work. So when that L&T gentleman said, "How long can you stare at your wife?" As much as I understand he might have his own frustration with the employees, and that is fine. But at a senior position, you're a representative of your brand, and anything and everything you do impacts shareholder value. It impacts how your team perceives you. And also, there's a certain amount of, respect or certain brand commands. When you look at the aura
Mm.
of L&T is fine, but when you look at the aura of Ratan Tata, right, and the Tatas, there's a certain amount of trust that is involved. I have never met Ratan Tata in my life, right? And like not had any direct dealing with Tata, but when you hear about the Tata group,
Yeah.
particularly like the Taj, and I think they also import a lot of cars in India, like Jaguar or something.
Jaguar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jaguar
Jaguar.
and other things as well. So there is you synonymize the name Tata with trust because of how
Yeah.
Ratan Tata conducted himself. Imagine Ratan Tata screaming at his team and saying, "How long can you stare at my?" That would do nothing but erode that respect that is there. A leader is built over time. So even at a higher position, right? As a leader, you represent your brand, and sometimes it's also very, very important for leaders to, if I may say this, also drive narratives for their brands. Hence, leaders should also
Mm.
have their own personal brands. And like Abhi, recently there was this Asus, right? Somebody complained about a Asus laptop. Someone's computer laptop stopped working, and he posted about it on Twitter. Until before that, nobody was helping that gentleman, right? And the PR disaster, reason I'm calling it PR disaster is because Asus is, heavy duty laptop brand is how you associate it. Apple is associated with premiumness, right? So every brand has a association. And I think these laptops are also used for graphic designing and gaming, if I'm right. That's what I've seen people use them for.
Yes.
And
Yes.
everyone complains about these laptops online. There's no help being given until this post goes viral. And what does a senior executive do? He goes on a podcast and starts jumping on the laptop. Now, the reason I call it a PR disaster is that number one, do you really want people to jump on your laptops? What are you selling, a Nokia phone? No, you're not selling that. Nobody buys phones to like, oh, it's durable. You buy a laptop obviously for quality, like, durability. I get it, but you don't need to jump on your laptop, right? Like there's a very funny meme that goes around where it's in a Hindi serial where there's a lady called Gopi Bahu and she washes her husband's laptop. That's the equivalent what that gentleman did on the podcast, right? It's a similar to it. You should respect your product. You should maybe publicly apologize and say, yeah, hi, we messed up and let's give you an extended warranty. We take full accountability. Or maybe just, like talk to that person, take him to the ASOS factory and show how these laptops are built and how premium it is versus doing a Gopi Bahu equivalent of, like jumping on the laptop on a podcast. Right. So nowadays, anything and everything is being done. And this happens because number one, people who are leading companies might not understand social media that well. And whatever a PR person will tell them, they would do it. Like jump on a laptop. I think
Yeah,
one founder who's been doing the personal brand really well is the founder of Bombay Shaving Company. So he has certain, takes that might be
sure.
controversial as well. Like maybe, as a young person, you should not chase comfort or whatever. And okay, he did, get some flack for it, or he does get hate once in a while. But at the same time, he's driving the narrative of his company. He's in a way, right? Because there's a company and there's a founder, but he's driving the narrative. Now more people actually know about Bombay Shaving Company, though it had amazing, like distribution or whatever. But because of Shantanu, you know more about the brand as well, right? And you also know the
True.
founder's opinionated. And when the founder actually runs their own branding in a certain manner, it creates the right narrative, even if it's controversial. Obviously, PR, makes you aware about what is happening, but at the same time, it is very, very important that the narrative that is being set is firstly the founder understands what they're doing, and second, it is they can also back it up.
Most brands die of apathy than negative news.
Right.
In the sense that nobody has heard about your brand, and so your brand dies than a negative news or negative criticism in the paper and so on and so forth. And which is true for politicians as well. We see that as well, right? Uh, Sejal, we have talked about the upside, what it has brought for you, how it can backfire, and all of those kinds of stuff. Your own personal brand, what are the future plans? How are you planning to take it further? Do you have any plans on this?
Okay, my future plans. See, currently, I want to, immerse myself in content that I learn from. Have realized that, a lot of content that I do personally on Twitter, I enjoy it, but I've also outgrown it a bit, right?
Mhm.
So now shifting to video content is going to give me a bigger challenge where obviously text content is going on Twitter and but at the same time learning about videography, how does cinematography work? How do different texts symbolize something? How does color theory work? Is something that I have started learning, right? I've joined this cinematography course recently, which teaches me how filming works. At the same time, I want to dabble my hand somewhere around tech as well because I realized that, like there's a lot of buzz about AI, right? Either you talk about AI or you build something in it. I'm not a tech person to build something in it, but maybe educating myself and, like
Mhm.
handing out shovels in a gold rush might make me lucky. So just looking at a few things here and there. What suggestions would you have for me if you were to advise me today?
Uh, I like the phrase that you used, uh, while in the gold rush, build shovels,
Right.
because that is exactly what I tell my team and others as well. Is that I think you have, like, as you rightly said, you have to learn about videography, because that's in the AI era, creating content is a lot more easier.
True.
But what's gonna differentiate is networking with the authenticity, that everything that you talked about. Bring your own, all of your things to the front, and be bold enough to do that. And that can be effectively done via videos,
Right.
right? So for me, what I would recommend is, you don't have to learn. See, you don't know how a car works.
Yeah.
You're not a mechanic,
Yeah.
right? Which is absolutely okay.
Right.
As long as you know how to drive it and take it to a place where you want to go.
Right.
So I would say, treat AI like that.
Right.
You don't have to know how the large language model works and what the algorithms and what is RNN and all of those kinds of stuff. But what can it do for you?
Right.
How can it help me to grow whatever business that I'm in?
So put
It
the
could be branding and all of that.
put the tool to use versus building the tool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
That's what I would say. That's what I would say. I normally, this is what I say. There are some people who enjoy being a mechanic,
Right.
but most of us are drivers.
Right.
Same approach for Gen AI as well,
Right.
is what I would say.
Right.
Okay. Sejal, thank you so much for taking the time. To all my guests, I asked 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Here is the first one. What's the kindest thing someone has done for you?
The kindest thing someone's ever done for me. I think I remember I was in 12th grade, and this friend of mine, I had been struggling with something since a very, very long time. And this friend of mine, and I had asked everyone for advice, but this one friend just heard me out for 2 hours, heard me cry on the call, said this very empathetic phrase, and I was able to do what I was supposed to do. And I said, "Thank you so much for being so kind to me." And she said, "Don't thank me. Someone before you, before I was kind to you, someone was kind to me. Just be kind to the next person."
Absolutely. Lovely. I think one of the things that I say is pay it forward.
Yeah, pay it forward.
There is one mentor who has opened doors for me. Almost all career breaks that I had, he opened the doors for me. So one time, very recently, I went back to him and said, "How can I pay it back to you?"
Yeah,
He said, "Don't pay it back, pay it forward."
forward. Yeah,
So that's a very lovely story, Sejal. This podcast is about leadership.
right.
In that sense, can you tell me what you think is the best leadership quality and who has manifested it in your life?
Um, See, I like multiple qualities from different people. I like, for example, I like I like the way you think. I like how bold my mother is with her takes. I like how social my father is, right? But if I were to like take someone's leadership quality, I think the best leader that I know is my sister, my younger sister, who's 6 years younger to me. She's 17 years old. I remember a few days ago, I was not able to solve something. And my sister said that, you underestimate yourself and you let others underestimate you. She said that I have full faith in you and you'll be able to do this. There was some task we were supposed to do. And she taught me how to do that task. And she's younger to me, okay, what I'm trying to say. And then I was able to do that certain task. And then she was like, "See, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you'll be able to do it." Instead of saying that, Sejal, you're such a failure. You're
Hmm.
not able to do it.
Hmm.
She was like, "I know that you will be able to do it." So I think I have no shame in learning from people younger to me. And I personally feel my sister is the best leader I know.
Wow, lovely. Uh, Finally,
Yeah.
what is your definition of living a good life?
Living a good life, it's basically not having any neighbors near my house, being able to like I'm being very honest, not having any neighbors, having my family members live near my house, and like just being able to wake up and decide what I want to do in the morning. And maybe like, in this economy, it's difficult to raise children. So maybe have 5 children. So when I think I can have 5 children and raise them in this economy the way I want to raise them is no, I know when that's when I know I'm rich.
Sejal, when I started this podcast, I said you are a lot more practical person, and your definition of a living good life only shows that how practical you are. Very well. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sejal. Thank you for taking your time and sharing your thoughts on personal branding. Thank you.
Thank
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Can I request you to share the key takeaways from our conversation? If you like the conversation, please share the podcast with all the others. Have a life of wins.